What up, Pine Lot School? I'm back after 2 months. I know, freaking from a little mental clarity, break, vacation for myself, stuff like that. Just thinking some things over, and just making sure that my opinions and what I want for myself, just to make myself happy, comes first over others. And therefore, what I'm going to call that is self-care, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Self-care is really important for everybody that they need to grasp a hold of. It's something that is very important for yourself, just to know that you can stay stable and you're not constantly freaking out. You're not constantly having anxiety and walking into specific situations where you're constantly doubting yourself of what might or what you need to do just for that situation. And people need to know that even for specific celebrities, famous icons, politicians, stuff like that, there's always a point where you need to work, and consistently work, and also take a break for yourself and not constantly stress yourself out. Need to and do it on your own basis and your own terms, regardless of what other people think and where you should be or how you should be doing it. So I'm just gonna give off a couple examples just to kind of put my point across, so to speak. And all these examples all kind of entitled to the same thing of self-care, like for yourself, for your own needs, and kind of how other people, vice versa, would look at that the same way for themselves, if hopefully they do, if you are trying to talk to them about specific stuff like this. Obviously, take time for yourself. Take that little vacation if you're working your ass off the entire time, if you're constantly around people that are just constantly telling you what you should do, what you should be doing, where you should be at a point in life, because there's always a way that people think that they need to pertain about how you should be going about specific things, just because that they were taught a specific way, or if how society sees it like that. And that really puts a damper on your self-image, just because that you're not really thinking about what is good for your own. If you want to not go to school, you don't have to. If you don't want to go to school till you're 25, you can wait till you're 25. If you don't want to have a family till you're 35, 40, that's okay. It's not based on anybody else. It's about when you want to start a family or something like that. And so that, to the point, just to know that it's okay to do it at how you want to do it at your own pace. Next example is progress is progress. As I was saying, that there's always a point to where you can take it at your own pace, and nobody should be rushing you to tell you that you should be doing all these things at the specific ages. As I said before, is that you take it on your own pace. You make sure that you just do it how you want to go about it, without having to piss off people, having to constantly please people. Like, it's okay to be selfish. And that's my next example would be, is that it's okay to be selfish in specific situations just to make you happy. Be selfish is viewed as a bad thing, but when it comes to being happy, you're half the decisions that you pretty much make in life are selfish, just because you're thinking for yourself. And there's a point to that it kind of like breaks the barrier between of like where it's good and bad. Good for yourself, but definitely bad if you're just trying to be selfish just to be a dick. Like, you don't have to be the asshole that has to think that you have to be selfish just to not really help people out. Like, you don't have to help everybody, but there has to come to a point to where you're at least civil, or to the point to where you can at least be open-minded to help people with, regardless of what it may be. And so that's why it's okay to therefore do it for yourself, for your own happiness, but yet at the same time not do it just so that you're hurting consistently everybody. And I feel like there's a way that you can possibly regulate that, but I know that is something that I feel that would be very hard to be able to do. So, take that with a little bit of grain of salt. Next example would be to know your own failures and know when you are wrong. Not a lot of people are okay with knowing that, just because that we're all based on opinions of what we've learned on our own way, and so then we think therefore that has to be the specific way that we have to view it, or how our parents taught us, or how the society tells us that we should view things. It's pretty much, life is kind of a scramble nowadays, just because we have to consistently take a bunch of opinions at once and then try to bundle it together and hope to God that we can make one simple sentence that'll tell us what we should do, and what's going to happen. Obviously, that doesn't work like that in our society, so we are constantly having to engage in opinionated battles with one another, because we like this and we don't like that, or you shouldn't be believing in that because I believe in this, or you need to think about it that way instead of this way. And it's constantly a thing to have to know if you are right or wrong, And so therefore that's why you should obviously put in research, delve yourself into these specific topics that you want, that you need to know to talk to other people about. And that can vary from a bunch of different things, but there at least has to be a point to where you should make sure that you know what you're talking about. And then also be open-minded to be learning new things, instead of thinking that the way that you are thinking is the only way, instead of expanding your mind and being able to know that there are possibilities that you might be wrong, and therefore there are more things that you should be learning and evolving with. Next example would be probably that there is always a sense of doubt and anxiety when it comes to making self-decisions or decisions for the betterment of you, other people, for your job, etc., etc. Working past specific barriers, going over walls is really hard to do. It's hard to be able to know if you are stuck, if you can actually go over that wall. But there are always going to be consistently walls in your life. There's always going to be barriers that you need to break. There's always going to be those points where you need to be selfish for your own happiness, just to make sure that you can be happy with yourself and know that you are okay with everything that is going on in your life, instead of having to stress yourself out all the time because you don't know how to work past those specific barriers or those specific walls. So then you're constantly having to engage in yourself. It's like, should I do this or should I not do this? I don't know, I'll do it later. Maybe not. Constantly having to question yourself about that is not going to help you improve. You're just gonna feel like you're consistently stuck, and then you're not gonna know how to handle the next situation that builds on top of that wall, and then it just keeps building a bigger one of a wall, and I start sounding like Donald Trump when I'm talking about a wall, but you know what I'm getting at, that it's just gonna keep piling on and piling on and piling on until you're not gonna know how to be able to get around it or over it. And then that's why, like, when you take the time to actually know how to work yourself in these situations, and you know how to conquer and be able to be saying yes or no, that the opinion where you're constantly questioning the I don't know, maybe, that always kind of ends up putting yourself on a weird way to be able to handle those things. And I feel like you should be able to break that, just so you know how to handle yourself. So the next part that I'm going to talk about is definitely going to involve the more bigger picture about we as a society, rather than how we individually can handle it. The examples that I said previously can definitely help you in the moments of how we have to be able to handle these things in society. It's really hard for us to be able to grasp the big picture, the big image, the one thing that we all need to know that we need to do. It feels like it's almost physically impossible for us to be able to get along, to be able to not shame each other on and hurt one another just because of some specific agenda, opinion, and therefore then so we can all actually come together and feel like that we're all equal. And that obviously has a really big impact on our self-care. Just to kind of sum that up, it would be society expects an image, either individually or on a specific group, to expect to see you in a specific way, or how you should see yourself, or the bigger picture, I guess. Like a man's supposed to be a supporter or a caretaker, or in some ways viewed as like the cheater or manipulative, stuff like that, of how specific things that happen on like social media, that those random things pop up about those things, And so then I feel like it has just a bigger impact about how we view men, or like with women, we view them as like sexually identified or portrayed as the caretaker or to be taken care of. We have to consistently have race and equity. We have to portray the people of color, just because that we can't ever seem to just know that we are all equal, even though that they've had rights for about 60 years now, and slavery's been done since like 1865, and yet we're still having racism to this day, and we still got to deal with all this shit of where we can't think that people are equal. It seems really far-fetched to be for anybody to feel to be okay with themselves, just because that everybody has to feel like they're or everybody has to target other people or target bigger groups of color, stuff like that. It's freaking ridiculous. I feel that has a big impact on how people can portray themselves to other people. People aren't going to want to talk to people like that. People aren't going to want to be able to converse and actually work with people like that, just because that people are one way, simple-minded. We're not going to be able to get along just because my way is the highway and you better take it or freaking take the exit, And so I don't know how we can, I guess, work past this if we can't just grow the hell up and actually be able just to view each other equally and not have to freaking just like think that people need to be this and just let them be them for how they work with things, and actually help people build and help people be better for themselves and actually help people. And then it all kind of has to revolve around, money, fame, if you have any like social interaction at all with the big media, just so that you can actually have a way of talking and a way of thinking that just has a more bigger way of delving us down into a hole, just to be greedy, just to be that we think that we need to have everything. Like, it's okay to have big ambitions, be able to get the nice things, it's okay. But if you're legitimately just like randomly spending shit, is that, and just having a bunch of these things but actually not actually helping the general people that might need it, don't you really think that it should be something that you should be doing if you have a lot of money, if you are able to actually speak your opinion and be heard by other people? And don't get me wrong, I know that a lot of celebrities and other people do what they do to help the communities and all that, but you should understand what I mean about how money is the main picture, that we just need to be self-indulgent and it's all about the money. No, and you can, obviously you don't need to give money to the people that don't deserve it. There are people that don't deserve to have money, especially and that's pretty much people with money, people who already have money and they just want to be selfish with it. Like, there should be a way that you should be able to help your families, your mom, your dad, your close friends, anything like that. If they need help, if they should be able to do that, if you have a lot of money, then that's okay. But just indulging it to where it's like you only need to have money to be noticed, to have respect, and to be able to have any social communication with the world. Otherwise, you are a loner. That is how my way of how I view it to be perceived when it has a lot of money. So, or when you have a lot of money, or to try to be noticed. And it's like, I guess I could be like calling myself out because I'm doing this on YouTube, but it's like, how else can other people hear my opinion? If there's other people that actually agree with how I agree, that there's always, like, I'm not really doing it just for the money, just to be noticed. I'm doing it just because that I want people to understand that there are a way that we can go about things, and to be civil and actually be able to have other people be okay with how they feel and not shame them, not be racist, not be sexist, not have to identify people at all of what they think that they need to be, because they can be them. It's and especially if we're all equal, if we are all equal, then we should all be able to take that into consideration, to be able to be together and have self-care with one another, and then care for other people at the same time. And it's hard. I know that there are some people that have specific opinions that you don't need to care about, it's hard to be able to avoid people like that. Like, it's always going to happen. There's always going to be some engagement like that, but there has to be a way that people can at least still morally accept one another, instead of having to bash them because they don't believe in that religion, they don't believe in pro-life or pro-abortion, they don't believe in Democrats or Republicans. Like, there should always be a middle ground, when in our society there never is a middle ground. And how else can people put themselves on the middle ground if they pretty much have to go down one way or the other way? It doesn't really make much sense to me of how people can therefore take care of themselves, to feel good about what they're doing, to know if they're doing it for right or wrong for themselves, if they're doing it for other people, if people can't actually just come together and accept it, right? Yeah. Otherwise, I don't really think that I have anything else to really go off of that. Morally, just to sum it up, is that take care for yourself, to know what you need to do for yourself, but also be able to do it for other people, There should be a way that you should be able to care for yourself more first before other people, but still make sure that they are okay, to know that there is a way that you can at least still understand them, and that they can understand you, that everybody needs a break. And you can't tell me that even celebrities or famous icons need a break every now and then, right? Because everybody should be able to take it at their own pace, and not have to think that everybody needs to do it at a specific time, age, or place, just to make sure that they're getting ahead. And and it's okay to self-indulge every now and then. It's okay to be selfish, but just don't be a dick about it. Simple as that. I'm pretty sure that there's nothing more to that, just don't be a dick about it. But otherwise, besides that, I hope you guys can please give me your opinions on this. I feel this is a very deep video. I had to do a video previously to this that caused me some technical difficulties, so I had to do it again, and I'm actually pretty impressed for how this one went. So please like, comment, subscribe, share your thoughts, give me your opinions, and I will see you guys soon.